School of Music, where music education is prominent. Today we have another special video for the producer community, and we are going to go over part 2 of how to create melodic trap melodies, or R&B trap melodies, or beautiful trap melodies using music theory, psychology of music, and chords, arpeggiating chords. Okay, so if you haven't saw the first video, it's very important that you see that because we are building upon those techniques that we learned in that video, and that was a very valuable gem. So we do this for the SPAnonMusicSchool School of Music. It's a holistic music school training producers all around the world in every subject, university level training, very academic, and there's a link in the description to the website so you can check that out, get your free consultation, and we can get you going. So let's get started, and we're going to create a tonal center. Okay. We're going to create a tonal center, and again, we're using music theory in chords to create beautiful melodies. I'm going to show you how to do that as we're building on those concepts from the other video. So in the key of D sharp minor, so we choose that key, and we're going to work out of the D sharp Aeolian mode. Okay, D sharp minor is the relative minor to F sharp major. The scale of F sharp major is F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, and F sharp. You then take that scale, which is the F sharp major scale, and you move it to the 6th scale degree, and then you play the same scale but starting from D sharp to D sharp, which you'll get D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, and D sharp. That is the Aeolian mode, okay, which is used a lot in trap music and rock and pretty much any music. You know, Aeolian mode has been used, classical, jazz, you name it. So we're going to start off by creating a tonal center, and we're just going to this is a modal composition, so we're just going to take the one chord that we're on, the minor chord, the Aeolian chord, and we're going to arpeggiate it to create the melody. Now before we go ahead and go into the science of what is going on here, let's go ahead and take a listen. And what we want to do is, here you go. So as you can see, it's a very beautiful melodic accompaniment, guitar accompaniment. So all we're doing is we're using chords to create melodies. A lot of melodies are built and based on chords. So the D sharp chord, we're just going to arpeggiate it. In the left hand, we play the triad. It's a simple triad. I'm going to show you how simplicity turns into complexity. Now, we have the minor triad in the left hand and then in the right hand. Okay, so we're going to roll that up, and it's beautiful. Listen to the beginning of that. See that? Da 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 da. Very beautiful. And then it comes down to B natural, okay, which is the sharp 5 of the minor chord. So already we're also going to get some nice dissonance and beautiful, you know, harmony and colorations going on here by having this sharp 5. Okay, and then it's going to come back up, and this time around when it's going up and does a turnaround to come down, it's going to also hit the E sharp, which is the 9. So what started off already as a minor triad, it immediately turns into a sharp 5 add 9. So that makes it more complex so that your harmony is not just simple. And remember, again, all this is accomplished just by using one mode. Okay, so as we go on to measure 3, we repeat this pattern again. So we have something, we're going up and down, right? Or up, down, and go back up and then down. So we go up again, so we're going to ascend. Same pattern, right? We have the double triad, one in the left hand and the other in the right hand. And also, I want to tell you guys, it's very, very important for you guys to learn the keyboard, learn how to play the piano, and we do teach that at the SPAnonMusicSchool School of Music. And there's many, many reasons why, and I will point out to you the main reasons, the obvious reasons, is number one, human feel. So the music will float, okay, and you can deal with your dynamics. And I know some of you guys are thinking, well, I'll just, you know, do your harmony, I'll do the randomizer. But, however, that's a computerized randomization, and it's not realistic. Also, if someone else was to click in this pattern here, let's say you watching it, you clicked in this pattern, and I clicked it in, and then I randomized and you randomized. We got the same beat. There's no difference, and I'm telling you guys right now, everybody's watching watered down, training videos from people who don't really have the knowledge, and so everyone's getting that, and they're teaching you kind of how to be a clone, and you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing, and using MIDI kits and so on and so forth. And it's gonna be so hard for you to be distinctive as a composer, as a musician, as a producer, when you're doing the same thing that everybody else does. What do you do that is special that no one else does? Well, you can start easily and separate yourself from the crowd instantly. I mean instantly, by just simply studying and learning theory and learning the piano, the keyboard, to play it, okay? Because these velocities are real. You see that the rising line, and look, it rise and come back down. Now, this is not a coincidence, right? I didn't click these velocities in. This is my natural finger weight. So also that gets me to the next point as to where your finger weight and the softness of your hands and the pressure that you use and the size of your hands, the next man will not have. That is very unique to you and you only. So when you learn how to play the piano immediately, again, you cannot be duplicated. It would be hard for someone to even come close to getting your touch or getting the sound that you're producing based on your finger weight. So these are huge advantages, because you will leave competition behind, especially since they are lazy and want to do shortcuts and try to hop over the wall. But too bad it's the Great Wall of China. It's an illusion. You'll never create, shortcuts and, by being lazy and not wanting to study. So again, it's very important to learn the piano, and through that, it just makes things easier. Also, this pattern here, if I had to click this in, it took me 10 seconds. I just play the pattern, 15, 20 seconds. If you're trying to click in notes and find the right notes, and you know how long that's going to take you. This is something that can be done in 30 seconds, tops. Record it, put it where it needs to be, and that's that. Instead of clicking around and searching. And again, it doesn't sound computerized, right? So that is very, very much important. So again, on the measure 3, when we're coming up, this time I want to talk to you guys also about variations. So you don't want your melody to be boring. You don't want it to keep repeating the same thing. So you don't want to copy and paste this and then keep, playing, because then it will become boring. So let's look at some things that we can already see that are different. Obviously, when we do the double triad arpeggiation, the left hand, right hand, okay, remember it went down to B. Okay, here's D sharp. This time it's going to go to the E sharp first. Okay, and then it's going to skip the F sharp and go straight to the A sharp and then come back down. So this is a nice variation. Take a listen to the difference between the second ending on the second half of measure 2 and then the second half of measure 4. They're quite different. See that? It already gives you a variation. So now when the listeners listen, this is psychology of music, by the way. All the great composers know this. From Chopin, Beethoven, Mozart, Tchaikovsky, Haydn, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Duke Ellington, the list goes on. All the great composers know this. And so with the variation, the psychology of music, what's basically happening is that ear, it creates a kind of like a suspense, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't want your music to be predictable, because what's the point of listening to it? They already know what it's going to do. It's not really entertaining. Remember, the musical ear, while they may be layman's, they like trivial to their ears. That's the psychology behind it. They like the trivial. They like listening to music and intricate sounds and things like that, and enjoying it. So anyway, you get your variation there. Okay, so things to notice. Pedal. Let's talk about the pedal. You see that we get colors through the pedal and the elongated notes here. Again, clicking this in is not going to work, because let me explain to you why. Again, another reason why playing the piano is so valuable, because with the pedal is a human body, right? You're using your foot. You're using part of the human body. And when your human body is involved, what does the human body do when it hears music, right? What does it want to do? You want to dance, right? You want to move. So if you're creating the music that you wish or desire people to dance to, then you want to put your body into it, and you can't put your body into it if you're just clicking the computer. That's not it. So again, you want the human feel, and if you get the human feel into the composition, it's your human feel, and if it's your human feel, then you are distinct. You see what I'm saying? You're distinctive. and you separate yourself from the crowd instead of sounding like everybody else. So things to notice. So again, we get color when you use the pedal. So these elongated notes. Now, how would you know when to release and feel? Well, think about it. If you're creating this beat and you're in a groove, your body's into it. Your body would feel the colors and hear the colors and your senses, and you would know when to let go of the pedal and all that type of stuff. You cannot get these feelings down from clicking in the notes. It's impossible. So just think about these advantages. Now, also, another thing to notice, the different variations. Look how the second half here, see here how it stops here. In the second half, it overlaps. See? Now, this is color. It's all overlap. So the coloration is going to overlap into the fifth measure, and it's all color. That's what the pedal can do, right? It's very beautiful to have these notes. And this is also called legato. Legato means that all the notes are connected, as you can see. They're all connected, right? And there's no gaps. Where can you find a gap? So there's not at least one point in time when this melody is played that there is a gap. See, because here is a gap, but then here there's no gap. See, so this is a legato arpeggiated melody. And going into the second half, okay, so you got your double triad again, okay, and what to notice that's very interesting is this time now you have a C sharp, okay, which wasn't there before. As you can see, you had the B, no C sharp. So now you have the C sharp, and you add that color, that makes it a minor 7, because this is the minor 7 to D sharp, okay, and then also here's your E sharp again. So now we're dealing with a minor 9 chord, okay, and you could say sharp 5 here. And then finally, on the measure 7, we're going to go ahead and change the bass note of our progression or our accompaniment, and we're going to give the illusion that we're basically creating a chord progression, but it's not. It's really just modal, and that's the beauty of modal music. It's very flexible. So we have B, D sharp, F sharp. So this is your F sharp. This is, excuse me, your B major triad, and going up, this B major triad in the right hand, we're going to fill it out with, as you can see, making a major 7, right? Because here's the third, the perfect fifth, and the major 7. Now also pay attention to the E sharp, how the pedal, see that pedal? The pedal is important. With the pedal, the E sharp rang all the way into the B, right? Which now makes this a Lydian chord. And then you'll get a nice dissonance here when you have the F sharp and the F together. Let's take a listen, and when it gets to the F sharp, listen to how this note is carrying over, and watch the colorations you get. It's like a whirlwind of colors. See, it's very beautiful, and then you see your variation. Okay, so right now, something that started off so simple, and that's why I love modal music, and I love, you know, having knowledge in the facility, because there's no such thing as beat block. All the people who ever mention beat block, they're untrained, and they don't know music composition, don't know theory. It's impossible to have beat block when you know this stuff. In fact, not only is there no such thing as beat block, when you have this type of knowledge and you study and you train and you don't try to hop over the Great Wall of China, it's the polar opposite. You actually may get tired of it. You'll never run out of ideas. You might need to take a break because you're just bleeding with ideas. It's just beats, you know, just oozing out of you, right? You'll never have beat block. I've never in my life sat down and thought, well, I don't know what to do because I just don't have any ideas. These ideas are endless because you take, again, look at this concept of building music and melodic accompaniment. You can take this one tutorial and build music off of it for the rest of your life. Period. Just this concept. And, you know, you come to SPAnonMusicSchool of Music, you learn from us, self-paced package, whatever you desire, you'll learn a lot more. This is just one video. So, and it started off from a simple triad, and look how it gets complex just by simply using the notes of the mode. Okay, and the sharp 5, all right, E sharp, the 9, all right, and then the minor 7, sharp 5 again, and then the 9. So we're dealing with a minor 9, okay, with a sharp 5, basically. We're playing around with it and creating this beautiful melody. It's very nice. And it's modal, right? So we're sitting on one chord, created all this music, a whole loop. It's beautiful. So now, when it hits the B, okay, this is the 6th chord, okay, or the 6th scale degree, and it gives you the feel that you're in a 1/6 chord progression, though you're really technically not, because it's not really chord. Now, also, this is polyphonic. This is, you know, horizontal. creating harmony horizontally, right? The music is, the notes are going forward and they're not stacked on top of each other like a chord. So anyway, now that we have this done, the tonal center is created. We're in D sharp Aeolian. It's beautiful. It's going to be a modal composition. What do we want to do now? Well, basically, we have everything set up. It's beautiful. You can make an entire beat out of that, a composition. But the thing is that we wanted a full sound, right? The sound is not full enough. So we want to fill up the frequency spectrum. And how we're going to do that is texture. So talk about texture. I talk about it a lot. It's very important. Texture is a huge part of composition. Whether it be piano or cello, it doesn't matter what you're writing, you're dealing with texture, and where you place the notes and what register and all of that really, really matters as far as for your texture. So what you can do is we're going to go ahead and take this same pattern. Okay, we're going to 2D it and we're going to move it down an octave and lower texture so that it can hit a different or kind of fill a different frequency spectrum. And then we're going to fill out the texture like that, and we're going to cut it in half, right? And half time it. Okay. And just like that, and if you know how to play keyboard, you played this in 25 seconds, and you copied it, and you picked the right octave. After, of course, you probably took a few minutes to find the correct instrument that we use for the manual art, and you have a whole beat. It's already done. It's finished. Now I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. Now, as you saw how beautiful that sounded when we fill in the lower textures, and we got that in and got the thickness to it. Now it sounds full, right? And then it's moving, boo doo doo da ba bum bum bum, and right. So listen to the halftime melodies that are created through this intricate guitar accompaniment pattern, and the accompaniment is beautiful. And then we're all set to go. So we can go ahead and put in the drums, and the beat is pretty much done. So I'm going to continue to show you the power of modal music. So again, we're in Aeolian mode. So it's not a chord progression, right? So it's different, right? It's a lot different. You're dealing with, it's more flexible than that. So here we have the root note, and here's the fifth. So you got the root, fifth, okay? So this is still showing you that, hey, we're just dealing with the one chord. So one chord is creating all this beautiful music, and that's what I'm saying, the power of theory and science of music, psychology of music, composition, fundamentals, piano theory, production, shading, coloring, techniques. I mean, all this stuff is very, very important. And then here you can see we can play around with it a little bit, and we take the fifth and we move it up to B, giving the illusion of a sixth chord really quickly. But it would be very hard to distinguish that, given that it's coming from a semitone, right? So, and then we just repeat this idea, and then remember on 7 it hits the B, so we're going to hit the B with it. And this is the first time now with the bass note. So I'm going to emphasize that you actually get to feel that it's moving, okay, to the Lydian mode for the 6th chord. Okay, the Lydian mode is the 4th mode of the major scale. Remember, D sharp minor is the relative minor to F sharp major. If we go to F sharp major, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, the 4th mode. Here's your Lydian mode. Lydian mode is so special. It's very, very special because I have the sharp 11 on a major 7. Very, very, very special. Very important. It's the only time you get that sound out. And here we're going to emphasize that a lot. Now, another cool thing is here we also, the flexibility again of modal music is we're able to walk the bass line up to C sharp, which then gives the idea that we are now on the 7th chord in D sharp Aeolian. So the 7th scale degree, which is going to create a C sharp suspension type of chord, right? Okay, so it's very flexible. Let's listen again now that you know what's going on with the bass line. So you see how when we got to the 7th measure, how it feels like the chord changed? But as you know, as we know, the patterns is all based on a minor 9 sharp 5, right? And so it doesn't really actually change. It's just the bass note, and the bass note can kind of give the illusion that it's playing this chord, which it is actually, because the bass note, the lowest note, as I teach you guys, dictates the harmony. Whatever your lowest note is will dictate your harmony. So this now fully makes this a Lydian 13 chord, okay, and we're going to get into that. So with the composition pretty much, you know, done, what we do now is we want to put a lead melody in. So this is really special. Another thing that's beautiful about learning all this stuff is that as we have a melodic accompaniment pattern here, it's melodic and it acts as a melody, as you can hear it. So that melody, it's got several melodies floating around, and that's an accompaniment. And look at the power when you have cross melodies, and we can even say a triple melody, because at halftime it created a whole different melody than the actual accompaniment, right? It cut it in half, and now here comes another melody. So this is your triple melody, and we're going to make this one the actual lead melody, because this, and no matter how you spin it, because it's acting to create the harmonies and the colorations, it's actually a very melodic accompaniment. So it is a melody, but it acts as an accompaniment is what I'm saying. So to accompany a main melody, you get it? See? And of course the vocalist, who's going to even put another melody on top of that. So this is just within the music. Now let's throw a lead in here, and you're going to learn a lot. Okay, so what's happening here? So now we have this beautiful melody, and we're going to go over this. So we got the E sharp, right? And there's a quick turnaround, E sharp to the F sharp. So you have the 9 going to the minor third, and a quick turnaround back to the 9 and into the minor 7. So remember the beginning of this, which was the double triad, the left hand playing the triad and the right hand upper octave. It now becomes instantly a minor 9 chord off top, because here is your 9 and then here's the minor 7. So that fills out. So again, when you have this knowledge, right, you're able to make your music complex by just making simple moves. Okay, I'm telling you this. Music theory has been, because there's a lot of scavengers out there who just looking, and I get it, they have to pay the bills, but unfortunately it's at your expense, not literally as in financially, but also in kind of wasting your time, leading you in the wrong direction. Music theory has been explained kind of in a way that you don't need it or something like that. It has some negative connotations with producers, and a lot of it is being lazy or whatnot and being afraid. But in all actuality, it helps you control your music, and you will dominate, and helps make you distinguishable from anybody else, right? And you become your own person, and you can control all of your ideas, and you'll never have beat block. So with this beautiful turnaround, also we're going to talk about space. So this is a melody with space. You don't notice how you have the long notes here and just da 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 da, and then that's it. Just a lot of space and beautiful space. Space is very important because it gives the track room to breathe. So now watch how when this sings out, the accompaniment does not get overshadowed, because we're not trying to overdo it. You don't want to rape someone's ear. Excuse my language, but you know what I mean. You don't want to violate someone's ear, should I say? And what's important is that you give space for the listener to take in, to comprehend the music, okay? And so if I was talking to you all super fast, not taking any breaks, you know, it's almost like writing sentences with no periods or commas. I mean, you know, it's really hard to follow, you know, to know when something stops, and to make it comprehensive as far as the phrasing goes. So using space is very important, and it's been done since the beginning of time. All the great melodists do it, from Tchaikovsky to Thelonious Monk, Chopin, Duke Ellington. They're all really good at using space, but Thelonious Monk, a very big master at it. And of course, he then taught that composition to Miles Davis, and Miles Davis, who's, you know, very notable, probably the most famous trumpeter of all time, is also a master at using space. So these long, beautiful notes, you don't have to play all these notes. You don't need to do that, you know? So again, I want you to pay attention as we play this to how, by me playing just a beautiful motif here and then letting it ring out and leaving all the space, the accompaniment and the beauty of the accompaniment, that melodic, the melodic coloration of that does not get lost. And so it all becomes one beautiful thing. So this is a main statement, right? Ba-da-da-da-da. And it's a singing melody, right? So melodies should sing. They should be singable. They should be beautiful. If you wonder, what is a beautiful melodic melody? By the way, a beautiful melodic melody is one that's singable, right? Any melody that you hear that's memorable is one that's singable, okay? And this idea comes from the great opera, maybe specifically the Italian opera, like Bellini. They had, he was writing the elongated melodies, very long, beautiful phrases that use space, and it sings. And later you had Chopin who would take this concept to make the piano sing, and so on and so forth. It was lyricism, or Schubert, also Bill Evans, and so on and so forth, right? So singing. So this is a beautiful melodic melody will sing. And that's what this does. It sings out and kind of cries out in the beginning, and it adds emotion to the beat, and it adds color. So let's talk about color really quick. So color, what is color? How are we getting color? We're getting color through the extensions. You will get the color through the extensions, okay? You will not get color from root notes or perfect tones. It won't happen. Those are for something else. So a perfect fourth or a perfect fifth will not, give you color. That's not what they're for. Also, the third and the seventh of the chord, those are quality tones. Those are not necessarily used for color either. Those are used for quality. So if you have, like in our case, a D sharp minor chord, the F sharp, which is the minor third, when it rings out, it just gives the ear the sense of whether or not it's minor or major. And we know major has a totally different triumphant sound versus the minor, which a lot of people associate with melancholy or whatnot. But it's very sensitive. Now, that's also important. And so again, we leave the space in the melody, and then we just walking on up. And remember, the B major chord is here, and then you have the 13 right here, and then here's C sharp. Again, emphasizing that suspended 13 chord. So it gets very complex. So you decorate, and that's what you're learning. That's how you make a composition complex. It's like a Christmas tree, right? So when you go buy the Christmas tree, it's simple, right? You went and bought it. It's all green. It has nothing on it, or all white, whatever kind you got. It has nothing on it. It's simple. Just like how we started off with that minor triad, it was simple. However, with your knowledge, depending on the skill set of the person in decorating, and in our case, the skill set of composition and using techniques and, what to do with psychology of music, science of music will dictate, how well things will pan out as far as the beauty, the embellishments, and the complexities. And that's basically what's taking place here. So now with this lead melody, if you listen to it, the same case as with our guitar and beautiful melodic accompaniment, it is not full in sound, and the textures are not are underwhelming at the moment. They're not very satisfying. So we're going to do a tutti, okay, which means to copy it, all right, the exact same pattern, and we're going to choose a different instrument to get different textures out. So we're searching to find the textures. Textures are very important, and sometimes color is also dictated by the instrument. You could take the same melody, play it with a saxophone, it would be more colorful with a flute, right? A flute is one of the most colorful instruments ever, okay, if not the most. And clarinets and so on and so forth. So here we want to go ahead and get some more color or whatever and texture out of it by choosing different instruments. So seeing it sounds more full. Now let's listen to the sound we added by itself, and we added in on the high end and on the bleeding side of it, all right, because that's important too. See, so it's like an air whistle, right? And that all matters. An air whistle is a different type of texture than the first sound, right? Which was some type of, lead synth. Okay, so now that we got the middle in, right, the middle texture and the middle frequency, then we have some highs we added with the air whistle. And then now we want to cover something on the low end, and that's going to shut it down. Now you see how full it sounded. Now here's that sound by itself. Now you notice how you really can't, when we plug these all together, you can't really distinguish one from the other, probably except for the main lead, because it's the loudest it's supposed to be. That was the most beautiful, and that's the one we want to sing out. And then we're basically kind of filling it in, with all these different sounds, and that made the sound full. So that's important, okay? And you see how things just got more complex. So what would we want to do now? Okay, at this point, we're going to simply do an embellishment, and we're going to extend the chords, okay, or we're going to emphasize, okay, the Lydian mode through chords. So let me show you this cool trick. Okay, so what is it going to do now? So we're going to add in these textures here. This is all texture and color. So every decision you make is not always to be, listen, this, when you're making a composition, okay, it's like a band. All right, so let me give you a scenario. Imagine you're playing in a band. All right, you're the pianist, you got your guitarist, you got a saxophone, a flute, you got a drummer, you got a bass. Imagine trying to play a composition. Remember, this is in harmony as one. You know, you're trying to make one unit out of many pieces, right, and turn them into one unit. And the flutist just got out of control and just tried to play all loud and take a solo when it wasn't supposed to. Or the guitar player is jamming out too hard because his mom's in the crowd and he's playing too loud. And this is going to ruin everything. You would be upset as the pianist, as you'll be sitting there going, man, this is a team effort, you know, and you have to know your role. So there's no individual standouts truly, except for they will have roles. So obviously a lead melody will stand out because that's his role, but it's no different than, it can't take over per se though. It has to be equally balanced. So equilibrium between all of your sounds. You see what I'm saying? So everything is equally important. If you're missing what I'm saying, that's the point. Everything is equally important. So you don't want to have one thing louder than the other so much, or one thing taking over. So in this case, with this sound here, we need more texture and color in the background. So when I add something, it doesn't always have to be loud and heard. A great saying in music is some instruments are meant to be felt, not heard. So you will feel this pad, but you won't really hear it too much. Now look what that did to the composition. Added the final touch, the color, all that kind of stuff. And so let's look at the theory and the science behind it. What is happening? So again, we're in modal music, and we do not have to, it's not a chord progression. That's the beauty of modal music. It's flexible. There's so many different things you could do. With that being said, all we're doing is emphasizing our mode, which is a D sharp Aeolian, and we're just playing that chord all over the place. And it's all in 3 different inversions, right? So here's a root position. Here is the second inversion, root position again, and then here's the first inversion, right? All colors. And remember on 7, when it goes to the B chord, or the B note, which makes a B chord, all right? When this is a sharp minor 7 chord, right? Here's your root, here's your minor 3rd, 5th, minor 7th. It's just in 3rd inversion. And when you have that, and you play it over B in the bass, you're going to get a Lydian 13. Ooh, big chord, right? Right? Because look, here is the sharp 11. Okay, to B, sharp 11, it's a tritone away, right? Sharp 11, or flatted 5th, but it's more or less called the sharp 11 on a major 7 chord in the Lydian mode. And then here's your C sharp, which is the 9, here's your A sharp major 7, and here's your 13. Beautiful. So we're playing all this beautiful stuff. And let me tell you, a lot of times when you get this stuff down, you'll start to realize that you want to play sounds. You're not always trying to play a chord progression, right? This is no chord progression. I'm playing sounds here. This is all theory used to play, you know, particular sounds or whatnot. And here we get a beautiful, this chord now becomes its biggest, you know, at this point when we add this chord on top of what we already had. It was already a Lydian 13 chord. Now it's even bigger and more emphasized. And remember, we hit the C sharp on the 8th measure, which makes, okay, when you have C sharp, okay, and you got a B, remember we had the B in there, that's the minor 7th. Here is A sharp, which is the 13. Here's the 9, and here is the suspended 4. So now we have a B major 13 Lydian chord and a suspended 13 chord here. We have a minor 9 that's sometimes flatted 5th. I mean, these chords. So again, remember the Christmas tree? It came in nice and plain, but with our knowledge, this simple triad turned into a minor 9 and sharp 5. All right, and this mode then created this B major 13 Lydian chord with the sharp 11, right? And then also the suspended 13 on the 7th scale degree to walk it back up to 1. Those are the complexities. Now, last but not least, here is a embellishment And all this is a call, which is really a response or a commentary to the initial statement. Take a listen. Notice how it goes da 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 do, right? So right after that, ba da 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 da, boom, it immediately is commenting on that statement. So you have your statement, and then right here when this hits, that's your commentary. It's commenting on that statement. Take a listen, and it's like it gives you the call and response feel. You know, like a yes man. Think of a yes man. Think of, you know, adding your 2 cents. You know, that person is just kind of throws in a couple words, but someone else dominated the conversation. That is what a response pretty much does. And in this case, this is more to me commentary, just a quick comment on the initial statement. So notice how it goes. Dun, dun, ba, da, da, da. More. This is, again, responding and commenting based on those last 2 chords that we got from the new color we got out of the pad. And that's it, fellas. That's the ladies and gentlemen, because we got females that watch these videos too. Excuse me. And let's listen to it. We outro. Beautiful composition, and really quickly, as you can see, there's a little added like little bass part here. And again, the flexibility of modal music, not having a chord progression to adhere to. If there was a chord progression, you can't just play any bass note. But when you're in modal music, there's tons of flexibility. So now when we start this second verse, we have remember the 1 chord. So all that's going on, this is a walk, obviously. You're walking down scalar meaning it follows the scale, descending, right? D sharp, C sharp, B. And D sharp, that's our root note. So we still have our minor 9 chord, sharp 5. But here, with the C sharp and the bass, it's still a minor chord. It just has a C sharp in the bass. So that's called a slash chord. So it's it's a minor 7 or minor 9, flat 5, whatever you want to, or sharp 5, and then the C sharp's in the bass. So it would be notated like C sharp, then a slash, and the actual chord, which in this case is, you could say E sharp, D sharp minor. And then here it walks down to the 6, which is interesting. When you play a D sharp minor over B, you just get the major 7 chord. So it'll create the 6 chord. And again, this is all the flexibility of modal music, and then your knowledge, you know, it's infinite. Remember, there's no such thing as beat block. Don't ever think you should be sitting stuck and puzzled. If your ideas are minimal, or if you can't make intricate melodies or beautiful melodies, it's because you don't want to study and train. Basically, that's how it is. And of course, you have to have the right source, and that's not always your fault. There's a lot of predators out there, and again, they're trying to pay the bills, but again, it's at your expense, not just financially, right? Because I've had people come to me who've been studying music for 3 years, 5 years, in one case 10 years, 15 years, and got nowhere. You know, you come to me for a few months, you feel it like crazy, right? And so that's the beauty of what we do, right? So we had a guy, you know, Architect Beats, right? Got a placement with Quando Rondo, right? But you know, we trained him, and his music is on fire right now. And just like the rest of our guys, all of them, all of them are making unbelievable music right now. So anyhow, so the website link is in the description. This is beautiful. Really quick, before we get out of here, what did we learn? You got to watch this over and over again, and go back and watch part 1, and man, immerse yourself in real knowledge and take over, man. Be the best version of yourself. Like, stop wasting time. Stop looking for shortcuts. Don't be lazy. This is beautiful, man. The fact that you can create music, you're a creator. Don't be lazy. You know, like, really love this. Like, really get into it. And I mean, how can you say you love music if you won't take the time out to learn it, to learn the language of it, right? You're learning the language of production, not music, right? You're learning how to work the DAW, the computer, how to use this, how to twist that knob, how to put a MIDI kit in there and someone else's music. But you're not necessarily learning music, you know? Once you learn the music part, I'm telling you, you will control. You'll never use splice or MIDI kit. You won't use any of that junk. And you won't, and you'll also know the difference when someone's teachings are false. When you come to me and then you learn here and you go listen, you know, you'll realize that they are, you know, false prophets of music. So what did we learn? Well, we learned how to appreciate chords to make melodies. We learned about the D sharp minor chord, sharp 5, add 9, minor 9, sharp 5, D major 7, B major 13, sharp 11. And of course we had the C sharp suspended 13 chord, very beautiful. We also learned about variating the melody so it doesn't get boring. Give it a variation as major part of creating melodies and phrasing. We also learned about the pedal, how the pedal can help to create color, how it locks in the notes and creates a whirlwind. However, without the knowledge of music theory, you will not know when to release the pedal. That's why you need to study, you know, with the real. And that you can play the D sharp Aeolian over the entire accompaniment. Did we not? This is a modal composition. It's powerful. You learned that. You also learned the manipulation of the 1-6 chord progression, how we implied that it was a 1-6 chord progression, but it's really just a modal composition, and it's the flexibility of being able to move the bass line. Playing with the bass line to get more out of it, right? We started off with just simple chord progressions. When we added the bass line, we got new chords, especially here with the last bass line here on the bottom that came in the second verse. Also, we learned intricate sound, how to create intricate sounds using space, realistic melodies through the arpeggios, and these are real melodies. Lydian chords emphasized through embellishing the chords. We learned about texture, mid, low, and high, and also how to extend chords through the melody, right? Again, extending chords through the melody, how we had the triad, but then when we had the lead melody, how I added the 9 and the minor 7th, right? And the pad, how that made the chords more complex, and so on and so forth. So that was beautiful. Yeah, man, don't waste any time. Stop wasting time. Go to the website. You know, leave your information. We get you a consultation. Let's help you be the best version of yourself. SPAnonMusicSchool of Music Maestro out.